All right, welcome to lab number 1 of AZ-800, implementing identity services and group policy. So basically what we're doing here is we're making one server a domain controller, and then we set up some objects, including a group policy. And we also check that that actually works as intended. We're going to start off, or to start off in the lab environment, we have a couple of servers running simultaneously. We have this server, which you can see right now, which is a management server. And then we have a domain controller, an existing domain controller, and then we have one more server, which we're going to make a domain controller. So first, let's deploy Active Directory domain services onto that server. And for that, we need a PowerShell. Or there are many different ways to do this. In the instructions, they ask us to do that with PowerShell. So here we got PowerShell open, and the commandlet is install Windows feature. And the feature that we want to install is called AD domain services. And we don't want to install it onto this machine, but rather on the server that was called SEA-SR1. There we go. We can also take a look at the features that are installed. So kind of checking whether the installation was successful. And then also noting some other stuff. So yeah, a lot of output. The AD is up here in the first part of this listing. You can see here Active Directory domain services. There's an X there, so that has been installed. Another note here is that down here, next section, under remote server administration tools, we also have a role administration tools, ADDS and ADLDS tools, which are installed. All right. So next up, we need to promote that remote server to be a domain controller. Let's do that from the server manager. We currently have these servers in here. So what we can do is manage, add servers, and then just start writing the name here, or in our case, find them all. Server 1, like this. Okay. So one thing we could do is look at DS here. We can see that we have the domain controller only currently. It just took a while, so now we see there is post-deployment configuration needed. We need to promote the server to be a domain controller. There's a link here that runs you through a wizard to do that. we want to add it to our existing domain, which is contoso.com. We would supply our credentials here. Currently, I'm administrator. Then with the domain controller options, we generally want DNS and the global catalog to be in there. So DNS, of course, we know what that is. The global catalog is the copy of all of the objects in Active Directory. So it's especially good if you have a very large directory. It's handy to have a local copy of it that gets automatically synchronized. We put in a restore mode password in here. I'm just going to use the same password that I used for the user. DNS options, not really anything required. Additional options, not really anything required. These are the paths that are going to be used for the directory services database. We're just going to use the default ones. And then here, we can review our choices and then create a script. So if the idea here being that we might want to use the same command again later. So then we can use this in a terminal with PowerShell in it, like this one. Okay, let's log in. Then we need to set the safe mode password. All right. Get over to Server Manager. Now we can see we have the second server here already. It's still complaining about the configuration requirement, but that'll just take a short while until it will update. So back to PowerShell. Let's create some objects. So first we create a organizational unit. So new AD organizational unit. I'm going to call it Seattle. And the path to it is very simple. So it's just under Contoso, which is under .com. Right? And we want it to be protected from accidental deletion. Yep. And we run this on, let's run this on the original domain controller because our SVR1 is still getting used to its new role as a domain controller. There we go. Now let's create a user. Hi. Hi Carlson. Let's specify the oops, given name as being Thai. What else? We need to, of course, give it in a path. And now we can use that OU that we just created. So OU equals Seattle, and then the rest is the same as here. Oops. There we go. Then let's set the password. For Thai. Oops. The default password is empty. Now let's put in a nice password. Okay, and now that the password has been set, now we can enable that account. Account type. So that should be okay now. Let's also get a group. AD group Seattle brand users. Let's put that under the same path. Let's make it a global. Group, the security group. Add our tie to that. Let's add AD group member. The AD group was Seattle branch users. The username was Thai. No. Members. Yep. Okay, so we can check that. We can go get AD group member from group. And there he is. Okay, let's also add him to the local administrators group. So that's going to be add local group member. The group is going to be administrators and the member. Oops. Conto, so high. All right. So meanwhile, this one should be done. Let's see, yeah, we only have the refresh failed anymore. So the task of doing the promotion is no longer there, and we can also see that this server seems to be on. Shouldn't be anything wrong with it. Okay. So next, let's create a group policy object. Go to the group policy management tool. And we happen to be here in our domain. That's great. Here we have the group policy object. create a new one. Call it something like Honto, so standards. We got it. We can edit this. Let's put some security standards to place. So under user configuration policies, we have these administrative templates. Under system, we can prevent access to registry editing tools. That might be a good idea. So let's enable that. Then under control panel, we have organization. And then here we can say screensaver timeout must 10 minutes. And that with password protect screensaver. Okay. So then let's link the group policy to our domain. Here we have our domain, link an existing GPO. Those are standards. Okay. And now it has been linked and it is being used in our domain. Let's see how that works. Let's first enable remote logging. So no control panel. System security, right? Allow an app through firewall. Remote. Management enabled for the domain only. Okay. So let's sign in as our new user time. So we want the contoso tie password. Okay, and let's just kind of see whether we can run registry editor. No, it's not allowed. And then if we go to screensaver, we cannot change the timeout time, and we can't deselect the password request. So it seems to be working as required. Okay, let's go back as administrator. We had some additional GPOs to create. group policy management. So under contoso.com, we now have this Seattle container. And then we can create a GPO in this domain and link it here. So we're linking it to the Seattle container. Let's create this object and call it Seattle application override. And then here, edit that. And then now, under control panel, personalization. Let's take the screensaver timeout, for example. Disable that group policy. Okay. So how does this work? Well, one way to understand how this works is select the container that we have here, Seattle, on the left-hand side, and then click on Group Policy Inheritance. And you can see the precedence of the group policies. So this specific Seattle application override group policy has precedence over the default domain policy and the Contoso standards. Due to that, people who are in this or objects that are in this container will get the Seattle application override policy instead. Click on Seattle application override here in the tree, and that now tells us that any changes you make here are global to the GPO anywhere where that is linked. That's totally okay with us. We don't care about that. But what we have down here is something called the security filtering section. So these settings, the Seattle application override settings, only have an effect on objects that are under authenticated users. We can remove that. Okay, then let's add. And we want to do security filtering in such a way that the only users that are in the Seattle branch users group are part of it. Type in group name, check, and we can see it's underlined, so it has. So, cool. Could also add that only a specific computer is a part of that. Let's say here under object types, we actually only want to have computers. And the computer that we want to have is this one. This is SEA ADM1. Check names, it found it. Okay, let's see if this works. Let's go to group policy modeling. Start the wizard. What we want to do is use any available domain controllers. User and computer selection. Let's go for user. The user is Thai. I think it needs the Yeah, it needs the domain name here. Okay, so we got Thai. For the computer, we want to use the AZ-800 ADM1 computer. Cool. Then let's go to advanced simulation. We don't need anything. Alternative directory path. We don't need anything. This is the correct path for both. User security groups includes Seattle branch users. That's correct. Computer security groups is okay. We don't need to do any filtering. Okay, so here we have all of our selections. And now we have simulated. Let's take a look at the report. User details control. What we have here is control panel personalization. Password protect is enabled, but the screensaver timeout is disabled. So you can see that the password protection came through from the Contoso standards GPO. That one would also include the screensaver timeout, but that's disabled because the Seattle application override worked. Okay, so that concludes this lab. Hope you enjoyed it and see you in the next one. Till then.